Hey guys, I thought I would just jump on here after my video I posted this morning and just kind of give you a quick rundown of how I'm reading in the afternoon in my just in my reading time. This is my NIV Life Application Bible, and I'm just plopped down here on the couch, and I just kind of wanted to show you a little bit of how I'm doing things differently. Usually I'll sit here with my bag of highlighters, and which I have because I'm working on my contentment journal, but I literally have this. So this is definitely new for me, as I am a highlighter of all the things. But here's what I'm doing. I'm just kind of reading, and I am an underliner, so where instead I usually would underline everything and highlight, I'm just underlining it with my pen. I have a tendency to box around things that just kind of stand out, or like headings of things, as you'll see as I go through here, just really briefly. And what I have been doing is just making myself little notes that as I go through, if I flip through it again, I can pick up on it. So I'm looking down here in the application part, the commentary part, and little things will stick out to me. As you can see, I just kind of square them off, and then I'll just kind of pull them up into here. Sometimes something will really make some, just speak to me, something that I've read before in the back that I say, oh, I remember that from the New Testament, or something like that. Postures from the commentary I'll pull up, and just kind of bracket off things. Again, just commentary from the bottom that I've been pulling up. Sometimes I'll have questions that, I think about reading the verse along with the commentary. Sometimes it leads me to my own question. And just kind of go through things like that. Just thought I'd give you a quick little flip through. I'm only halfway through Isaiah. But this is just a different way that I'm not used to doing. And so I was just doing it with that, and then all of a sudden I got a little excited because I started putting some prophecy stuff connecting to some of the other books I was reading, Zechariah and Ezekiel, and so then I brought out my blue highlighter, as you'll see coming up. But see how I just kind of box off each little chapter heading, and I just kind of go. And then again, I am such an underliner. I don't know that I could ever just read and not underline. It just is almost like confirmation that I've read it. And so there, again, just kind of showing you. Sometimes I'll just pick up a name and then it reminds me of something else that I've read it somewhere else. And then here, I start picking up Jesus. Then I started picking up my highlighter. And then, it's all downhill after that. I want to start highlighting everything. But this particular thing that I started highlighting, I think, was talking about Jesus. I think this is Luke, where Luke is referring back to that, is what I circled that around for. Again, bringing up commentary notes. Woe to those who are unjust, make unjust laws, false teachers, false prophets. There was another thing in here that I wanted to make sure. Some of the references I'll pick up. Oh, so I usually start, excuse me, I have a habit of always highlighting or boxing around the word therefore, and because Pastor Jack said something to me before, and as you see when I get further, I actually start working it out. And he didn't say it to me particularly, but as I'm listening to his sermons, he keeps saying, when you see the word therefore, make note, because therefore is tying together the context before the verse and then the context after the verse. And so then I started paying more attention to that once I collected that in my thoughts. And pretty soon you'll see where I start drawing little arrows to that. It's just such a different way for me to be studying and writing out in my Bible as I go back. And then I really started focusing on the phrase "in that day," because anything that's repeated, there's a reason that it's repeated. And so I just started picking up on that particular phrase, "in that day," because he's talking about in the day that this prophecy begins unfolding, you know. And so we don't know when that day is, and neither did the people when he was talking to, and neither did Isaiah as he's speaking it. He just kept, you know, speaking by the Holy Spirit, and, you know, telling them, in that day this is what's going to happen, and in that day I'm going to do this. And so I just really started paying more attention to and here I just really started finding the repeatedness of Israel turning to everybody but God for help. So while they were having these judgments coming against them, they would go, instead of just turning and repenting to the Lord, they just would go to all these other countries asking for help. And so here again, they even, you know, even when God's hand was against them, everybody was joining in hand against them, and it was God's design, and still they did not seek God. They would go outside of the people that were against them seeking help. And here he's telling them that you are the ones that weren't willing to turn to me. You, all these repetitives. And then we get back over here. Where is it that I wanted to show you guys? Just briefly. I'm trying to make this quick. And here when he's talking about like the earth dries up and withers, you know, because sin does not only affect us as people, but it's affecting our land through pollution, crime, addiction, poverty. And so what that means is because our world is so affected that even as faithful Christians will suffer. That's what the Lord told us. You know, there's going to be trials, there's going to be tribulations. And here again, in that day, so I don't know if this will be helpful for anyone, but I know that a lot of times it's helpful for me when I see people kind of slow down their flip-throughs, just so that I can see what are they highlighting, what do they think is important, what is sticking out to them. And it's different for everybody. But then again, all these phrases, you know, have just really stood out to me through this read-through. Again, I love picking up the little, you know, how Jesus is in the whole Bible, from Genesis 1 all the way through. And here's where I would find, I was just listening to a body, Bacham, I think is how you pronounce his last name. He was doing us teaching on Revelation, which I really thought was so good. I've actually watched it twice now. But he reflected back to this verse. And so today when I happened to come across it, I looked over in the references, and sure enough, that was what he was teaching on. Revelation, he was teaching on 5:1-5. But, so yeah, that was good that I kind of was able to make that little connection just from a sermon that I had recently watched. So here we go with the therefores. So he says, this is therefore, this is what the Lord who redeemed Abraham says to the descendants of Jacob. So when you see the word therefore, you always go back up and you read all of the stuff that's happening and what's going on. And then here is the action step that happens by God's hand. So it says, because this is what was happening up here, therefore, this is what the Lord did or said or called upon. And then you have his action. And so anytime, I guess I just encourage you, anytime you see the word therefore, to really take a minute to go back and reread what you just had read through. When you get to the word, because now this is, therefore, this is what the Holy One of Israel says. Because you did all this, because all this happened, here's what's going to happen now. So it's just like action and consequences, you know. So I just think that's really, really interesting. And here's about where this is where I'm at today. So I just thought I would share that real quickly with you guys, short and sweet. This is a little crocheted cross my little grandma made for me, or she made it years and years ago, and I just found it at my mom's house in one of her Bibles, and I'm like, oh, I need that. So it's my page layer down when the fan's blowing, because this, watch this, when that little fan hits that and my page is turning when I'm reading, look at that, perfect placement. Okay guys, that's all. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Enjoy.